Happy to be here. I can tell by Evelyn's face. This is her. She looks forward to this every day. And here we are, another Tuesday, February 25th, year of our Lord 2020. What better place could there possibly be for you to be than right here, right now?
Oh, wow.
All right.
Right then.
By the way, we have two sets of twins in 8th grade, and part of our lesson this morning in Bible was a great missionary in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, Jonathan Mitchell. Her name was, anybody know? I only have the first. I started to erase it, and I thought, I'll make sure the junior high kids know about this woman. She was known as Queen of the, and I erased that too, Cannibals. She went to Africa from Scotland to be a missionary to a tribe in Africa that were very, very, very kind of demonic, not kind of. Sacrificing children. If your husband died, you got buried with him, whether you were dead or not. All kinds of superstitions and things, and one of them was, if you had twins, they killed the twins, because that was weird. Any child that was born that was like not quote-unquote normal would be killed. So twins, being not normal, they'd be killed at birth. Yes? Oh boy, better go get it. All right, here we go. This is your work from yesterday. Listen quickly. Are you ready? From page 378 to 379. Am I correct?
Yeah.
All right. The sum of the measure of two angles is 180 degrees. If that's true, we call them supplementary. If they form a right angle, what do we call those two lines that form a right angle? They have a special word for those. Starts with a P. Brett. Perpendicular. Please stop the chatter. Number 3. What are those two angles considered if one of them is 62 and the other is 118? Supplementary. Number 4. What are those two angles considered? One's 51, one's 39. Complementary. Number 5. What did they do wrong? They thought that measure 2, they somehow made it supplementary to 112. No. The angle 2 is, starts with a V. Vertical angle to 112. So vertical angles are equal or congruent. Number 6. If you know that the two angles are complementary and one of them is 56, the other has to be, Spencer? 34. Number 7. If you know they're supplementary and one of them's 71, Micah, the other one has to be, Dina? 109. Number 8. What is the measure of angle 1? Dina says angle 1 is opposite intersecting lines. So it's a vertical angle to 80, so it must be 80. Because vertical angles are congruent. Angle 2. Sid says angle 2, if you combine it with 80 degrees, makes a straight line. So Sydney says angle 2 must be 100 degrees. Angle 3. Lauren says if angle 2 is 100, then angle 3 has to be 100 because they're vertical angles. There's another reason that angle 3 has to be 100, because if you take 80 degrees and combine it with angle 3, those two make a straight line. And straight lines have how many degrees? Okay, take 2. I'm going to do the whole thing over because I'm looking out, I'm getting feedback that we're either not getting or not paying attention. So here I go again with number 8. Number 8, angle 1 is 80 degrees. Why? Because it's a vertical angle to 80. Say amen if you get it. If you don't get it, raise your hand.
Amen.
Okay, angle 2. Angle 2 is 100 degrees because if you take the 80 degrees and combine it with angle 2, what does it form?
A line.
A straight line. How many degrees in a straight line?
180.
So if you've already used 80, what's left?
100.
100. Angle 3. Angle 3, if angle 2 is 100, angle 3 has to be 100 because they are vertical. Number 9. Same deal. If you have a 45 degree angle, what's angle 6? It's got to be 45 because they're vertical. Okay? And if angle 7 completes a straight line when you combine it with 45, what's angle 7 have to be?
135.
135 because they have to equal 180. And if angle 7's 135, Micah, what does angle 5 have to be? 135 because they're vertical. So everybody got it?
Yes.
Numbers 8 and 9, combining 2 bits of knowledge for you. Vertical angles and supplementary angles. Vertical angles equal each other. Supplementary, if they make a straight line, they got to equal 180. Yes? Dina,
I'm leaving at 10:20 because I have an eye appointment.
thank you.
I gave the note to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Number 10, you're weaving. Find the angle measures in the weaving if the measure of angle 1 is 122 degrees. Look inside that diagram, that pattern there. If angle 1 is 122 degrees, what does angle 3 have to be? Raise your hand. I'm not calling Isaac again. He's answered this every time. If angle 1 is 122, Brett, what does angle 3 have to be?
122.
122, based on what knowledge? Starts with a V. Yes, you do. They're vertical angles. They're opposite each other when you have 2 intersecting lines. That makes them vertical angles. Everybody say that. Vertical angles are equal, or vertical angles are congruent. Say that. Okay. So if angle 1 is 122, what does angle 1 combined with angle 4 make? A straight line. Straight lines have how many degrees, Jaden?
180.
So if angle 1's 122, what's left?
50.
58. And if angle 4 is 58, angle 2's got to be 58. Number 11. 2 streets intersect to form a 75-degree angle. Sketch the intersection and find the measure of each angle formed. Did you understand what you were supposed to do?
No.
You've got one street going east and west. Now the other street doesn't form perpendicular lines. It says it's going to form it's not going to go like this. It's going to form a 75-degree angle. That's all you had to do is draw 2 intersecting lines. Think of it as, out here on the corner, this isn't exactly 90 either, but think of 2 streets coming together and it's like a perfect corner. Can you picture that somewhere in your neighborhood, somewhere that you drive, go down the road? Okay, so those form 90 degrees, right? Well, this street's coming at a little bit of an angle from the other street that it's intersecting. So instead of straight up and down 90, it's only 75. All they wanted you to do is take this, again, it's the repeat of the same. We've been doing the same thing for numbers 8, 9, 10, and 11 now. If this is 75, what's that got to be?
75.
And if this is 75, what's this got to be?
105.
105. Because 75 and 105 make
180.
180, a straight line. And if this is 105, what's that got to be?
105.
105. Do we need to do more? I can make up more.
Yes.
Do you get it, Mitchell?
No.
You totally get it. What is there to get so far in chapter 8? Ready? Let's summarize real quick, right in the middle here. That if 2 angles add together to make 90, we call them complementary. If 2 angles If two angles add together to make a straight line or 180 degrees, we call them. If you have lines that intersect, opposite angles are,
Vertical angle.
and they're congruent or equal. That's really all that we've done so far. Did you catch all that, Noah?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 12. Can parallel lines form vertical angles? Can parallel lines form vertical angles, LP? Why not? Parallel lines, when do they intersect?
Never.
When?
Never.
So how could they ever form vertical angles if they never intersect? Vertical angles are only intersecting lines. Hello? By the way, if the lines did happen to be perpendicular, would they satisfy the requirements for vertical angles and supplementary angles? Well, of course. If the lines were perpendicular, all of these angles are how many degrees?
90.
Right? So 90-90, 90-90, it satisfies the rules, doesn't it?
Yay.
Okay, number 13. A student designed the stationary border shown here. Explain how to find measure of angle 2 if angle 1 is 135.
I have no idea.
Look at their stationary. Come on. You do that to yourself. Just look at the picture and look at the numbers 1 and 2. Okay, you see the burgundy triangle and the purplish parallelogram?
Yeah.
See those two shapes? Okay, so they said that the angle 1 from the top of the green rectangle, the purple angle 1 is 135. What does angle 2 have to be? You already did this, didn't you? 45. Because they form a straight line across the top of that green rectangle. Does everybody see that? Number 14. 14. Now we're throwing in there a new concept. So far, complementary, supplementary, and vertical. Now we've got to add alternate interior and alternate exterior. This time the vertical lines the parallel lines are going this way. So is my hand right now interior or exterior?
Interior.
Because it's between the parallel lines. So this is the interior, this is the exterior. What do we know? What's the A word? Alternating interior and alternating exterior are equal or congruent. And what did they give us so far? Did they give us any information?
Yes.
They told us that angle 4 is 44 degrees. Is that all they gave us? Look, that's all they gave us. And they expect you to be able to tell the measure of every other angle without using a protractor. How can you do that? You now got enough information between knowing what supplementary angles are and vertical angles are and alternate interior and alternate exterior angles. You can now tell the measure of each angle just by giving you one angle. What does this have? What number is that? We'll start with 1. We'll start with 1. No, we can't really start with 1. If we know that angle is 44, what does 3 have to be?
56. Make 90. 130.
136. Angle 3 has to be 136. Why? Because this angle and this angle make a, Dina, this angle plus this angle, what do they make?
90.
No.
180.
Here,
Yeah.
this angle plus this angle, what do they make together?
180.
A straight line, 180. So this has to be 136.
Wait, what? No,
Not you. No, not that.
Everybody with me? Angle 3 has to be 136. Now that we established that, what do we know this is?
130.
Why? Because it's vertical.
Why?
What do we know this is? 44. Why? because it's vertical, plus 136 and 44. Again, make that straight line. Okay, now, how about angle 6? How about angle 6? How do we know what this angle is? This is the new information. This isn't based on vertical or supplementary. It's based on...
I have a question.
Is it 44?
This?
Yeah.
No, this can't be 44.
I have a quick question.
Hold on, dude. Yeah.
Is it 136?
Why?
Because they are equal and congruent.
Yes, they're congruent. Why? Why does this have to be 136?
Why?
Listen, you have to have reasons. You can't just say, you gave reasons. Vertical, supplementary. This is the new information. This is the one that involves 2 words. We're in junior high. We can handle 2 words at once. This involves 2 words for the reason. They are what? They are alternate. They're interior. They're between the parallels, inside, and top, bottom. Alternate, interior. This has to be 136. Based on the same concept, what does this have to be? 44. Because they are interior, top and bottom. Alternate, interior. Okay, stay with that. On the outside of the lines, it's not interior, it's
Exterior.
So here we got exterior on the bottom, exterior on the top. I call that alternate exterior. What's this got to be?
146.
And it's got to be that for a few reasons that we've learned. It forms a straight line. It's alternate exterior. Exterior, exterior. Top, bottom. We call that alternate exterior 44. There was? Great. Great. Number 15. Did you have to do 15?
No.
You're doing it now. Ready? Number 15. Find the measure of each angle if angle 9 is 106. You got to find 11 angles. But Micah says, now that we've done it again, that's much easier. Here's your repertoire. Here's your portfolio of knowledge for number 15. Ready?
I'm ready.
If 2 angles make a straight line, they must equal 180. So if you know one, 180 minus that gives you the other. If 2 angles are opposite each other when they intersect, they're equivalent because they're vertical. The only challenge about number 15, ladies and gentlemen, the only challenge about 15 is now they've got 3 parallel lines and they think they're going to confuse you. Show them, no, you're not confusing me. I can still tell what's interior when I look at 2 parallel lines. I know which ones are interior concerning those 2 lines. They've thrown 3 parallel lines in there thinking that you might get thrown off. Not really, but adding a challenge to see if you can step up to that challenge. They're really not trying to trick you. They're trying to make your knowledge deeper, reinforce your confidence, I hope. You got about 30 seconds. Because listen, once you figure out a couple of them, the others should fall right in place. Am I right?
Yeah.
Do you listen, here's the point. Some of you didn't bring a protractor, and right now you don't need a protractor. Because Mitchell, all he needs to know is this. 2 angles form a straight line, they got to add up to 180. If they're opposite each other, intersecting lines, they're equal. If I look between the parallels, and they're on the interior, in between those parallels, and they're on top or bottom, left or right, they're alternate interior, they got to be the same. Alternate exterior, they got to be the same. That's it. That's all you have to know to fill in all 11 angles. What's the measure of angle 1? The measure of angle 1 has to be the same as angle 3, and angle 5, and angle 8, and angle 10, and angle 12. Did you follow all that, what I just said?
No.
Look at that. Everybody, get your eyes on the book. Follow my logic here, Evelyn. Ready? Nothing else in the world matters to you right now, Micah, except your eyes are on number 15 and you're following me. Ready? Put your eyes on there. Angle 1 has to be the same as angle 3. Say amen if you understand.
Amen.
Who said what? Are you sure? You're positive.
He's not.
Angle 1 has to be the same as angle 5.
Yes. Yeah.
Angle 1 has to be the same as angle 8.
Yep.
That should be really easy to see.
And then 10 and 12.
Angle 1 has to be the same as angle 10.
I got it right.
Alternate exterior. Angle 1 has to be the same as angle 12.
Yes.
Alternate exterior. And all of those angles equal what? 74. Because angle 10, we know, has to be 74. So if angle 10 is 74, all of those we mentioned are 74. Yeah.
I got it all right, but I didn't use the alternate exterior for one of them. I just used the vertical thing.
That's good. Whichever method you use. Now, in geometry, listen, algebra and geometry a lot of times intersect. They go together. They're two separate subjects in high school. Algebra, then geometry, algebra 2. Sometimes you take them in that sequence. Sometimes you don't. Some kids have taken algebra and geometry in the same year because they do intertwine at times. But in geometry, the big thing is you have to prove why. So that's why I keep stressing, you can't just say it's a certain number of degrees. You have to tell me why is that number of degrees. You have to give reasoning, right? Because geometry involves measuring and constructing and making things like superstructures. Like if you're going to build a skyscraper in San Francisco, California, or any place along the Ring of Fire, you guys know enough about science, you know what the Ring of Fire is, where there's volcanic activity, and what else is very prevalent? Earthquakes. So they have to build buildings today that are solid steel and flexible. Their measurements have to be precise. You have to have reasoning why. You have to have reasons for everything. Does that make sense? You're going to be an engineer. The world needs engineers. The world needs people to solve problems, right? So engineers, you can't just say, hey, I have an idea. Okay, let's do it. Well, what's the basis for your idea? How do we know that idea is going to work? And you write down proving, hey, my idea is going to work based on all the mathematical science. Are you listening? Okay. All right. 16 through 18. What did I say? Geometry and algebra often intersect. And you're going to tackle that right now. Number 16. What if the measure of angle 1, David, hold up. David, raise your right hand. Say I. David McPeak.
Oh, I still.
Say I, David McPeak.
David McPeak.
Do solemnly swear
Okay. You tell me to swear.
that I am not automatically going to say I don't understand.
That I automatically.
I am not automatically going to say I don't
That I
understand.
am not automatically going to say that I don't understand.
Okay. Ready? Number 16.
Ready?
We're doing the same thing we've been doing. Ready? What is the measure of angle 1? Say it. 5x plus 15. What is the measure of angle 2?
28x.
28x. Now, Spencer. Now, what do we know about angles 1 and angle 2? Somebody raise your hand. Don't blurt it out. What do we know for a fact about angle 1 and angle 2 and their relationship? LP. Okay, so what do we know? If we add them together, what do we get? Okay, follow me here. Spencer, did you say you don't get it at first? Okay, so don't stare at your protractor. Look at the book and listen. If angle 1, Spencer, did you follow what LP said? Do you agree that angle 1 and angle 2 have to equal 180? So let's write that down. Did you write it down yet? Did you write down, why are you afraid? What's angle 1?
I'm not afraid. I just don't.
What is angle 1?
I mean, I do understand. I just don't know how to use it.
Say it!
5x
5x plus 15.
What's angle 2? Shh.
28x.
Do I have to add angle 1 plus angle 2 to equal 180?
Yes.
Okay, stop. Not everybody's participating. I don't know why you expect to understand it and do well on a test when we do it, you're out there in la la land. Listen, is it true that angle 1 plus angle 2 must equal 180?
Yes.
Now, if you're serious now, and you've actually are engaged in the lesson here today, raise your hand if you don't understand that. But don't raise your hand if you're not serious. What's the matter?
I want to do it.
15.
Because
Oh, 15, sorry, thanks.
By light turns.
So, do you understand that this is angle 1 and this is angle 2, and added together, it has to equal 180? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've conquered the geometry part. You with me? The geometry part tells us that these two angles, go ahead, are supplementary. So what do they have to equal? 180. So let's do the algebra. Ready? What two terms can I combine? 5x and
28x.
33x plus 15 equals 180. How do I get rid of the 15?
65.
No, if I add 15, I'll have 30. I subtract 15. It's on there. It's actually on that one. If I subtract 15 from this side of the equal sign, what must I do to the right side of the equal sign?
Minus 15.
Subtract 15. Stop. Please stop chatter. Question.
Wait, so wouldn't you subtract 5 instead of add it?
Positive 5x, positive 28x, they're on the same side of the equal sign.
Oh, sorry.
That's a good question though. Because you're used to like getting rid of it, right?
Yeah.
Right now you're not getting rid of it because they're on the same side of the equal sign. Has that been a bugaboo for some of you this whole time? Listen, has anybody was that a revelation to anyone? It's 5x and 28x, and a lot of times you're like, knowing that you have to subtract to get rid of it, but they're on the same side of the equal sign, so you're just combining like terms. So now you got 33x plus 15. How do you get rid of the 15? Subtract 15. That leaves you with 33x equals 165. How do you get rid of the 33?
Divide by 33.
Divide by 33, both sides, right?
Yes, sir.
And x equals?
5.
Now wait, you're not done. Shh. They need to know the value of those angles. So if x is 5, somebody tell me how many degrees angle 1 is. Hello? If x is 5, somebody tell me how many degrees angle 1 is. I just circled it up there in red.
Oh, I know what it is.
If x is 5, how many degrees is angle 1? Spencer? 40. 5 times 5 plus 15. Angle 1 equals 40. If x is 5, how much is angle 2? And in fact, angle 2 better be this value, because added together they must equal 180. If x is 5, how much is angle 2? 28 times 5, because x was 5.
Which is 140.
140.
Bam.
28 times 5 is 140. 40 plus 140 is?
180.
Like it better be.
I did 180 minus 40.
That means
Either way, right? But, Kara, you're right, because they're supplementary, but shouldn't this be true? And if it's not, we didn't do something right, because if x is 5, those two have to be true.
no.
Okay, now try 17.
Oh, it gives you everything.
On your own, 17. What, honey?
How can you get 40?
Because we said x was 5. What's 5 times 5?
20.
Which one is it?
25.
What's 25 plus 15? See, we solved for x, and now we got to figure out what they say angle 1 was. 5x plus 15. This is listen, we're doing these because this is so critically important to everything we've done this year. We're taking what we're learning at the basics of geometry here, combining it with algebra, and this is kind of what we've had to review. We did a review for a couple days going back to page 160. This is great review of the algebraic process that you got to know. You got to get this down. This should be like, remember when all of a sudden multiplication became clear to you in 4th grade? I hope it did. 6 times 7 is 42. This algebraic process, the basics of it, has got to start being like adding and subtracting became in 4th grade, or multiplying and dividing.
I hated it. 6, 7.
So what's your job in number 17? Your job is to realize that angles 6 and 3 are again supplementary. So if you add angle 6 to angle 3, you should get 180. By the way, some middle school student might just look at angles 3 and 6, and what might they guess? They might think, hey, I'm not going to do the problem. I'm just going to say that they're both 90, right? Because it almost appears the way they made the illustration that they're both right angles. And then you would be caught not doing the problem, just guessing. Again, you can't do that. So you're doing this problem the same way. You got to take 100 minus 10y plus 45y, and it's got to equal 180.
Yeah, I got that wrong. Wait, I did.
I hope by erasing Mary, that doesn't mean you'll forget her.
Racing Mary.
Mary Slessor.
Yeah, I actually thought he meant Mary.
And the great work she did in
I
Africa.
was like, what is Mary?
All right, one of your angles, they both have to equal 180. One is, in case you'll correct me if I'm wrong, 100 minus 10y. You have to add to that 45y, because that's the other angle.
35Y.
How many? Is it 35 or 45?
Oh, no, 45.
45Y?
Get 35 because
And those have to equal how much?
180.
Because both those angles together make a straight line. Which two of these can I combine? I've got 3 terms here. Which 2 can I combine? Set. Set. And 10y. This guy's by himself right now because these 2 are like terms. What's positive 45 and negative 10 combined together, Seth? 35y. So watch how I write this, because I'd rather put the y term in front of the 100. So is it okay if I write 35y plus 100 equals 180? Everybody good? All I did was combine the y's. Positive 45 and negative 10. Boom. How do I get rid of the 100?
Subtract 100.
Minus 100 from both sides, right? Hello, right?
Yeah.
So now I got 35y equals 80. So what does y equal?
2 point something.
Y has to equal 80 divided by 35, right? 2.2, or if I went fraction, because that looks easier to me right now, 2 and 10/35 is 2 and 2/7. Who's with me?
Yes.
2 and 10/35. 10/35 is 2/7. You follow that? Is that how big the angle is?
Wait.
Don't be silly. That angle is not 2 and 2/7 degrees. All I did so far was figure out what y was. 2 and 2/7. How big is angle 1? angle 1 is 100 minus 10 times 2 2/7. 10 times 2 2/7.
Yeah.
22 4/7.
Oh.
So how big is angle 1?
22 4 7.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No. Angle 1 is not 22 4/7. It's 100 minus 22 4/7.
It's negative something. Three sevens.
I have no idea.
Why'd you get from 4 7 6?
77 3/7. Keep following. Look, we are now on step 4, and the middle school mind is going to start wandering if you don't focus. I'll go slow again. Watch. Does everybody understand how I set it up?
Yes.
Angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180.
Yes.
I combined like terms. I got rid of the 100. I got rid of the 35. We found out that y was 2 2/7. That's not the answer. We found out that 10 times y was 22 4/7.
Yes.
That's still not the answer, because it said angle 1 is 100 minus the 10y. And that's how we got 77 3/7.
What?
So the measure of angle 1 is 77 3/7 degrees. How did I do the subtraction?
I mean,
Yeah,
how do you subtract? Oh, I remember how to subtract that. Yep.
Borrowed from the 100, borrowed 7/7, right? Everybody got that?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember those days, Bella? Okay. So if this is the angle 1, and they both have to equal 180, I'm going to be like Kiara this time. I'm not going to do the whole process of 45 times 2 2/7, because I got an easier way of figuring it out. I can figure out angle 2 by doing 180 minus 77 3/7. Did you follow that? I could choose to go 45 times 2 2/7 and figure that out, or I can just go 180 minus the 77.
102 and 4 times. Do that right.
102 4/7. Go ahead, Cameron. Shh.
What's the 99 minus 104 and you get 77?
I didn't say 99 minus 100.
Well,
It was 100.
Yeah.
Listen, did you follow this first part?
Yeah.
Angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. Stay with me. Did you see how we combined like terms? Everybody, stay with me here. Everybody good to hear?
Oh, yeah.
Raise your hand if you're not. Why are you ducking out? Ready? Did you see how I got rid of the 100? Do you see how I figured out that y was 2 2/7? Okay, now that you know what y is, what did they tell you angle 1 was? 100 minus 10y. So don't I have to figure out what 10y is? And then don't I have to figure out what 100 minus 10y is? 100 minus the 22 4/7 I got for 10y. That gives me angle 1. I had to do all that work to find out what angle 1 is. Let me start again. What part do you get lost?
I was just confused if that was 4.
Anybody need me to do it again? Rachel, Dominic? You get it, Noah? Listen, I understand it. Once you get the 4 steps, it takes a lot of focus, doesn't it? You have to, if you are, how do I say? I don't want to say weak-minded, but maybe I do. If you're weak-minded, you're going to check out. I don't mean dumb. I mean like you don't want to do it. Your will is, oh, this is too much work. I don't want to do it. Just like when you were back in 5th grade and I put division phobia on the board. It's not so much you had a fear of long division, you just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, that was awful.
And when you got older, you started admitting it. Yeah, I just didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. I don't like the fact that I have to do 4 steps to solve a problem. Listen, math students. Guess what? From now on, you're going to do multiple steps to solve problems. That's just life.
That's terrible.
No. And guess what life is? Solving problems. God bless you if you go through life and you don't have problems. They need to be solved. Sometimes doing more than one thing. Lauren, there's one chief. Guess who it's not? So why are you closing up trying to force me here? All right, ready? Pete, turn the page. Twice. Turn the page twice. Listen up. You're on your own, Kira. 1 through 14. You got to do page 384, 1 through 14. It's a review of triangles. What types of triangles? You remember what the angles were that were less than 90? Oh, what a cute little angle. And the angles more than 90 were obtuse. So this is a review. 384, all 384.
Wait, what is it? Right. No, right? Accused.
I don't remember.
Yeah, right triangles.
Yeah, they call it angle. What are we doing? Okay.
For you guys, okay, I finally understand. I know what it is. Like, okay. What is down?
Okay. If y is 2 2/7, what's 10y? Look, 10y. 10
Okay, I agree.
times 7 plus 2 is 16 sevenths. I have to multiply. I can't multiply fractions until you have 2 fractions. Not common denominators.
Too bad. Let's do the one up. Half a mile. That's, everyone has to.
So now you know, wait, now all you know is what 10y is. What's angle 1? It's 100 minus 10y.
I'm a lot less confused than I was when we were doing it. Did you guys play with us? How does it work though?
Right there, that's it. That's it.
That's all you do.
Yeah,
Isn't it so like not?
Sit there and
But how?
do that and get a twirl.
Well, did you finish your English essay? Like the second topic is due today. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I worked on this. Oh, I'm sorry. I worked on it this morning. Hi, Mr. Franken, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.